Welcome to Module 3, Video 5 of the Lead Quizzes Facebook Comprehensive Guide. Joining us again, we have Donnaberry Visor, Lead Quizzes co-founder.
How's it going, guys?
In this video, we're going to be showing you guys how to set up an ad campaign within Facebook. Now, before you get started, there's a couple things you're going to need. First, make sure you have a Facebook ad account. If you don't already have an ad account, go back and create a Facebook ad account and come back to this video once you're done. The second thing you're going to need is a quiz that's already been created in Lead Quizzes. So if you haven't already, pause the video, go back to Module 2 and create your quiz. Now without further ado, let's jump into Facebook and create that campaign.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so Donnaberry, when we first get here, there's a couple of different ways you can create an ad. Which way do you recommend we go?
So you have two options starting out. First is the Facebook Ads Manager, and that's going to be like the easiest if you're fairly new to Facebook ads. The second option is the Facebook Power Editor, and we're not going to cover that in this tutorial. We're just going to start with the Facebook Ads Manager. The Power Editor is just more for advanced users who are a lot more familiar with Facebook ads.
All right, so now to do that, you're going to be in your ad account. It'll look similar to this, and just click Create Campaign right here. Now, if you've already started creating a campaign previously, you're going to get a message like this to start where you left off. So Facebook will actually save your work for you, so it's really nice. If you get called away for some reason, you can come back and start on it again. Now, when we first get here, we already have a question. What's your marketing objective? Donnaberry, what do we do here?
When you get to this page, you'll see at the bottom you have lead generation. And that might seem like, hey, that's the thing that I'm looking to do, but what that is the Facebook lead ads. That's actually not going to drive traffic to your quizzes. So you don't want to select that. So the two options that are really viable for running a quiz campaign is traffic or conversions. But what we're going to do in this tutorial is we're going to talk about conversions because traffic is a little more of a complicated setup.
And conversions is something that you can track within your Lead Quizzes account.
Yeah, that's where you can track within your Lead Quizzes account.
All right, awesome. So we're going to go ahead and click Conversions here. Now once we do that, it takes us down to a couple of options here. We have Create Split Test and Campaign Name. Do we need to worry about Create Split Test right now?
No, we don't need to worry about Create Split Test right now because what we can do in order to create Split Test on our own is just duplicate the ad set and change out one element in the ad campaign, and we can run our own split test without having Facebook create our own split test for us.
Okay. Now when it comes to campaign name, I know you have some tips for us to help us know which campaign we're working on without having to actually jump into the campaign. So what is the naming convention that you use and what do you recommend we do?
So when I'm running a quiz ad, I'll say quiz campaign, and I'll also do the version. So since this is our first version, I'll do 1.0. And then if I have like a particular group of topics or like a section of topics that I'm going after. So for us, we're going after adrenal. I'll put in adrenal. And then I'll date the campaign just so I have a quick reference as to like when I launched the campaign.
Okay. So once we'll do that, there's another option down here. It says optional campaign spend limit. Is that something that's important for us to do?
This is important if you have a spend limit that you don't want to go over. You can set your campaign's spend limit here, and once you hit that spend limit, your campaign will automatically shut off. But what we do is we don't do that. We do daily spend limit instead on the ad set level.
Okay, awesome. So that's only if you guys have a very strict budget that you need to stick to, and if you're going to be on vacation or something and you don't want it to go over it. All right, so once we're done there, it takes us into ad set, and there's a number of things that we'll do here. This is basically where we're creating the audience. So Donnaberry, why don't you tell us, starting from the top, what we should be doing here?
So for ad name, the format that I like to use is I like to use the location where I'm targeting. So if it's the US, I'll do US. Then I also like to put in some demographic information as well. So if I'm targeting people 26 to 64, I'll put that in there as well. Even if you're a female or a male, I'll also put that in. If you're just targeting female, we'll just put in female. And then what I also do is whatever interest that I'm trying to go after. So since it's just adrenal that we're going after, I'll put in adrenal. And then I will also describe what the ad campaign is going to look like, the actual ad campaign. So we can do tired person. There it goes. Yep.
All right, so next, conversions. Choose a website or app you want to promote, then select conversion pixel. Now this is the custom conversion we already created, right? Okay, awesome. So we'll click here to select a conversion event, and there's a couple of different options in here. Denver, tell us what the significance of the colors is.
So if it's a green color, that means like your custom conversion has had a recent activity within the last hour, and Facebook, it's fired. If it's gray, that means that it previously had a conversion activity, but it hasn't been active recently. So you can still select that. When it's red, that means Facebook hasn't detected the custom conversion event, and you're actually gonna have to fire it again.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and select the one that we already created, which is Adrenal Fatigue Quiz Lead. Now when you're doing that, make sure you don't select just any one that is green. Select the one that is specific for the quiz you created, so that custom conversion made specific for the quiz. Now this next section, offer, that isn't something I typically worry about with the quiz campaigns. What is that best for, Donbury?
This is best if you have like an e-commerce shop and you're looking to provide people some offers, or you have some sort of deal that you want to include with your quiz campaign. But for what we're doing here, the offer section is irrelevant.
All right, so that's specific if you guys are doing like, a product promotion, maybe like a 10% off thing,
or
you want to send a coupon, some sort of deal, 2 for 1, something like that. Now down here for audience, there's a couple of different options we can do. We do have this option for use a saved audience. Where did those come from, Donbury?
So those can come from like previous campaigns that you set up through Ads Manager, or they can come from Audience Insights. So if you create an audience in Audience Insights and save them, they'll appear here, so you can just quickly select them.
All right, so now if we select that, it automatically pulls in all that information, and it'll change our potential reach over here. All right, awesome. So now if we didn't want to do that, we can click Create New. And then we have this other option, which is a custom audience. Those are like your lookalikes or your custom audiences that you already uploaded. And again, you'll see what the potential reach is here on the side. And this potential reach number is going to change whenever you make a change to the audience over here. So for example, if we're going to change the age, so we talked about doing 26 to 64. So we'll change it to 26, and it automatically changes. And same thing when we'll change it again. So keep an eye on this potential reach so you guys have an idea of how large your audience is. Now when it comes to languages, is that something we need to worry about if we're advertising in the US, only for advertising in other countries? What do you see there, Donbury?
So this is really important when you're advertising outside of the US and you're trying to reach other countries. You want to set the ad campaign language to the language that your ads are written in. So if your ads are written in English and you're advertising into France, you want to, for example, make sure that only English-speaking or people who have their browser settings set to English are able to see your ad campaign. You don't want to advertise your English campaign.
Yeah, to people that speak French.
French, and that's all they know.
Okay. So now when it comes to detailed targeting, this is similar to Audience Insights, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So once we're in here, guys, you can just type in who you want to be targeting, and you're going to see that number change on the side. So we talked about this being adrenal, so you can actually type in adrenal, and you're going to get some suggestions down here, and it'll tell you the potential reach that you have for each one. Now, just because it says that potential reach, it doesn't mean that your audience size is going to be that size, because that's overall. So it could not be in your specific age range that you're going after, gender, or location. So keep that in mind. How many of these should we select, Donbury? There's a lot of them here. Should we select as many as we can?
You want to stick to a group of topics. So, for example, we're going, in our ad set name, we said we're just going after adrenal. So let's just stick to adrenal-based targeting. So we have adrenal fatigue.
So we wouldn't want to do this like women's health one because it's too broad. It's too generic. We want to make sure to like hone it in onto what our quiz is actually about. So we have adrenal fatigue. What else comes up? Adrenal insufficiency.
Yep.
Okay.
Adrenal fatigue symptoms.
Okay. Hormone imbalance, because it's a hormone imbalance, or no?
No, because we can create another ad set where we just go after hormone-related topics.
Okay. So now we've added in those 3, but my audience size hasn't changed. Is there a reason for that?
The reason for that is also you might have expanded interest set up as well, so you kind of want to remove this. You don't want Facebook to like add additional interest into your targeting, you kind of want to do that manually and control it, because sometimes they might give you interests that are not related to your topic.
All right, so when Donna Marie went ahead and removed that, our audience size went to 410,000 people. So the audience size we usually try and stay between is at least over 100,000, under 2 million. Is that kind of what you look at?
It just depends on how big your targeting radius is. If you're doing a local quiz campaign, obviously the audience size is going to be a lot smaller depending on the city you're trying to target and the interest within that city or within that region. So it really depends on your targeting radius and how broad you can how big your targeting options are available to you.
Okay. So once we have that set, there's a couple of other options down here. Add a connection type. Is this something that we should be worried about now? Something we'll be using in the future?
So this is nice if you have a huge page on Facebook, and for example, you want people who see the ad to be friends of people who like your page. So it'll be like, hey, Lindsay likes adrenal fatigue.
Maybe her friends too.
Yeah. So to make the ad just a little bit more relevant and have someone who may be a mutual connection of Lindsay see the ad and be like, all right, yeah, I want to take that quiz because it's something Lindsay's associated with. So it's like it helps build associations. But when we're starting out, that's not something that you should worry too much about.
So in the future, something you could do, especially once you get a bigger audience size. Same thing with excluding people who like your page.
Yeah.
That can be good if you're big in the space. You want to just get in front of new people, not people who already know you. All right, so moving down, we have placement. So this is where your ad's going to actually show on Facebook or Instagram as well, because Instagram is owned by Facebook. Now, Donna Marie, should we stick with automatic placements, or should we actually change and edit those placements?
So what I like to do is I always like to select my placement. I'll always select, I'll start out, when I start out a campaign and it's brand new, I always make sure that I select the top placements and work my way down. So I'll select Facebook, Newsfeed, Facebook right-hand side ads, and then I'll also select Instagram as well, because Instagram is owned by Facebook, and I'll remove in-stream videos and instant articles, and because I can run those tests later, but the ones that I start out with is I always start out the standard campaign formats and test all the other placements later on.
Now I've heard that Audience Network doesn't work as well as Facebook. What exactly is Audience Network? So
Audience Networks is when Facebook has advertising partners, and advertising partners are able to serve Facebook ads on their website or app. So that's what Audience Networks is, and so there's thousands of audience, basically advertising partners are partnered up with Facebook to serve Facebook ads on their site and collect a piece of the revenue. So it can work great. I would always recommend that you test it and just don't follow things based on rumor. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. All right, so definitely something that you guys can test. Starting out, though, we're just going to be testing Facebook and Instagram, only the right column in the feeds. And then when it comes to devices, all devices to start out. Don't switch to mobile or desktop. Do that later once we get some feedback.
Yeah, once you get some feedback, because the first initial one is basically it's a more broad campaign, and from there you want to look at your analytics and see, hey, are mobile users converting more for me on the quiz campaigns, or are desktop users converting more for me? And then if you see that mobile users are converting more in a campaign, what you do is just duplicate the ad set, make sure like all of your placement is for mobile users only, and go from there and test your hypothesis, because you might be completely wrong.
Okay. All right, so once you have that done, guys, then we'll scroll down and we have budget and scheduling. Where do you typically start a budget if it's a brand new campaign? Does it depend on what you're comfortable with at the time? Is there a number that you think we should have a minimum of starting at? What do you typically do?
The rule of thumb is $10 for every 10,000 people that you're trying to reach.
And that's the max you can go, or you should start off with that? Because it seems like a lot for me to just be starting out, do $10 for every 10,000. I mean, that would be what, 400?
Yeah, that would be a lot. So, but you just gotta keep in mind what your budget constraints are. If you can spend more, you can create more ad campaigns to test. But if you're starting out and you don't have a massive budget, with the quiz campaigns, what's so powerful about them is that they're so engaging on Facebook that you can start out with a small amount, like maybe $10 a day or $20 a day or $30 a day, whatever it is that you're comfortable with and just scale your campaign up. Because again, when you're doing these campaigns, you always want to make sure that you know your numbers, and you only want to scale when you're achieving the right ROI.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I select this daily budget of $10, is Facebook going to spend that full $10, or are they going to like use it in other ways? How does that work?
So Facebook sometimes doesn't spend the whole $10. You got to keep in mind that these, like the group that you're targeting, other advertisers might be targeting them and willing to pay more to get in front of them. So if you're not competitive enough with your ad budget, your ad spend might not, Facebook might only spend $1 because other advertisers are like, hey, we'll pay twice as much as Lindsay's paying in order to get in front of those people, and so your ads are just not a priority to Facebook, and the audience that you're going after is just expensive. So that's where you also got to realize, hey, if I'm going after an audience that's high value, for example, business owners that they tend to be pretty high spenders and high net worth individuals, and every advertiser is trying to go after those people because they know those people are purchasers and they have money to spend. So your budget has to line up with the demographic of people that you're trying to go after.
Yeah, it's kind of like a live auction. So basically, if somebody wants this item and they're willing to pay $2,000 for it, but I only want to pay $1,000 for it, I'm not going to win. Facebook isn't going to take my money. They're going to take the $2,000.
Yeah.
It's kind of a way to look at it. And that goes back to like the actual bidding, whether you're going to do an automatic bid or a manual bid that you'd be doing, which we actually see right here. Typically, I start off with automatic bid. Do you recommend we do that, or should we move to a manual bid at some point?
A manual bid is really great when you have your stuff figured out and you're a little bit more comfortable running Facebook ads. But if you're starting out, what you want to do is to just work with automatic bid. But then if you're not getting any reach, this is where if you're not getting any reach on your audience and Facebook's not spending any of your budget, this is where you want to do a manual bid. And Facebook will suggest like a bid for that audience, and from there you can place a bid. So for example,
here they recommend $14, which is
like
very, very high. I don't want to spend that much. So I'm going to go with automatic to hopefully something will happen.
Yeah, well, we want to start with automatic and see if Facebook will actually run your ads and people get some impressions out there. But then if it doesn't run your ads, then you may want to take a look at manual bidding and actually bid competitively in order to get your ads.
And know your numbers before you do that. So like know how much you can spend per a lead before you just select a manual number. And know that the manual bid amounts they suggest, it changes depending upon the time of year. So if there's a holiday nearby, that manual bid, they're going to say it's a lot higher because there's more advertisers on. Versus if you're choosing, like a random Tuesday, it's going to be different. So keep that in mind when you are running ads as well. Now, Donna Bray, going back up here, it says schedule. Do you recommend we set an end date, or is that only if we have something that like is an actual end date? So say like I only want to run my quiz for 1 week, then I set an end date. When would we use that? Should we use it? What do you recommend there?
If you only want to run your campaigns for a certain amount of time, that's when you would set an end date. But when I'm starting out a campaign and I know like, hey, I'm going to continuously be optimizing and trying to generate more leads, what I do is I keep it running continuously. Just to see how it's going to perform and see what days of the week are the highest conversion point for me, or what times of the day are the highest conversion point for me.
Okay, awesome. Next we have optimization for ad delivery. That's what we selected up at the top, correct?
That's what we selected up when we were first creating the name for our quiz campaign.
Okay, perfect. All right, so once we are done here, we're going to go ahead and click continue, and that's going to take us over to the actual ad itself. So getting into the copy and the images for it. Now the first thing that you'll notice here is being able to name your ad. So you recommended earlier naming it as to what the image is.
Yeah, naming it to what the image and also what the ad copy is. So if you're going to have multiple different ad copies, you just want to make sure that you name it like according to something that it's easy for you to like reference later.
So say if you're going to do short copy versus long copy, same image, and name one short copy, name the other one long copy. All right, now here, if you have multiple Facebook pages that you have access to, make sure that you select the correct Facebook page that you want it to be going to. So you're going to want to make sure that you have that on here. And you can change that at any time if you want, but make sure that you do have that set there. So we're going to set lead quizzes for ours right now. Now, we also have an option to select an Instagram account, or you can just have it come from your Facebook page on Instagram. So if you have an Instagram account that you want to grow the following from, you maybe want to use that versus just the Facebook page. So that's something that you can look at in the future. Now, coming down to the format, Donbury, there are a lot of options here. Where should we start? What do you recommend we do?
So if you're new to Facebook, just start with a single image. Carousel ads are give you multiple images with multiple ways to, like, you can be a lot more creative with it. You can start with video images, video ads as well. That's really great if if you have like a really cool interactive video along with your quiz that's going to capture people's attention. But when you're just starting out, what I recommend is just a single image ad.
All right, so the one that it's already selected here, is Canvas something that we need to be worried about right now?
No, that's not something we need to worry about right now.
Okay. Now when it comes to images, you have a couple of options here. So you can upload your own images and then Facebook will store them in your own library. Or there's also a free stock image option. The free stock image option is really awesome because you don't have to pay for a stock photo for your ads. And it's connected with Shutterstock, so there's a ton of stock photos in there. So this is typically where I start. How about you, Donbury?
Yeah, this is typically where I start as well, and try to see if there's any images that's going to be relevant for the ad that we're doing. So Lindsay typed in Adreno, and there's a ton of images, stock images that pulled up.
Now, some of these, they don't necessarily seem compliant to me. Focusing on like one paint section.
Yeah.
Is it okay though? Because it's from Facebook. Like, it's their images.
No, Facebook is just giving you the option to select from the library of Shutterstock images. That doesn't mean every image that's like they give to you is compliant. So this is where reading the Facebook advertising policies and really understanding what's acceptable and what's not acceptable is going to make life easier for you. So you want to find an image that's Facebook compliant, but also draws the someone that's seen the ad's attention.
So we had said we were going to name it tired person, so we'd want to look for somebody that's tired, but something that is also Facebook compliant. Remember, Facebook doesn't want to create a negative experience, so they want to make sure that your images aren't overly negative or make somebody feel bad. All right, so we can just go ahead and select probably this one with person yawning.
Yep.
Now it says you can select up to 6 images. We should select only one, or should we select more?
We should just select just one for right now.
Okay. Now, if you do select multiple, then it will create multiple ads, but it'll all be under one ad set. So Facebook won't necessarily split the budget evenly. It's going to put more towards one. So you're not going to get a true split test there. So it's something to be aware of. Now, once you have that set, you're going to see a preview. So you'll be able to see what your ads look like at any one time, whether it's on mobile or on desktop. You're going to see a couple of different images there. So make sure that you like the way that it looks. It looks good on mobile if you're going to be running mobile ads, as well as desktop. Now over here, first thing we're going to see is destination. Now, Donbury, this is the place where people are going to actually click and go to after the ad, correct?
Yep. So what you want to do here is you want to put in your quiz URL, or if you have a landing page before your quiz, you can put the landing page that directs people to your quiz. So for us, we're just going to keep it simple, and we're just going to put in their Lead Quiz's URL.
And that should be the URL of the custom conversion that you already created. So keep that in mind. Make sure that it matches the custom conversion that you are optimizing for.
And you also might be wondering, why are we using the URL that we use for the custom conversions in our ads? Is it going to track conversions as soon as someone lands on the quiz? And that is a no, because the way we have Lead Quizzes set up is the Lead Quizzes conversion code only fires on lead capture, and that's event-based, not page view-based.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, don't worry, this isn't going to count as a lead right away when somebody clicks to it, only when they opt in with their information. Now, when you put in a URL here, Facebook's going to automatically pull in some text from that page and fill it in. You don't have to keep it that way. You can absolutely change it. In this case, we want to because it makes no sense.
Yeah.
The way that they pulled it in. Sometimes it does make sense though, so just know that Facebook is going to pull in that information for you. All right, so the first thing that they tell us to update is the headline, which is going to be right here. Could you be suffering? What do you recommend we put there?
What I recommend is always put something that's very captivating and gets the point across as to what they're going to be clicking on, or what is possible on the other end. So for me is I usually put take the Adreno quiz now and find out your result.
All right, so you can do something simple there. Donberg said take the adrenal
Fatigue quiz now.
And again, you can see what it will look like on desktop as well as switching it over to mobile. So make sure you know how it looks on the different platforms you're going to be doing. So next we have text. Obviously, that's the text that's going to show right up here at the top. You'd mentioned previously, Donberg, testing long copy and short copy here.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, we can test some short copy. Do you typically have it match what is on that quiz landing page?
I typically have it match or create some kind of same trail as like what's on the quiz cover page. So, for example, what are people who may be suffering from adrenal fatigue have? So, you may want to be like, are you typically tired throughout the day and don't have enough energy to be productive? You might be suffering from adrenal fatigue.
And try and have it match the image as well, so that way it flows really nicely. It's really cohesive here. So in this one, I just put together a short little example. Tired in the afternoon, take the adrenal fatigue quiz. So, just something that's going to tell them what they're going to be doing, matches the image that you have there. And again, make sure that it's Facebook compliant, guys. Read those guidelines. We cannot stress that enough because you're not compliant, Facebook is going to disapprove your ad, and that could result in a banned ad account, which would prevent you from advertising on Facebook in the future.
And if you do have any doubts if it's Facebook compliant, just make sure before you launch that you ask Facebook and then have them review your ad campaign.
Yeah, and to ask them, guys, it's really easy. Just click help up here, follow the steps. You can start to chat with them a lot of the times during normal business hours. So really helpful stuff there. Now, when it comes to call to action, there are some different options here. Which one have you seen work the best, Donberg?
From running the quiz campaigns for a while now, the one that works the best for us, and you always want to test this is just learn more. Like we use that pretty often, and that always seems to work for us.
And that makes the most sense for taking a quiz anyways. You definitely don't want to not have a button because you want people to have some sort of call to action that they click to. I know they can click on the ad and it still takes them to the link, but it's always good to give them that second thing that tells them to go to the next step. Mm-hmm. All right, so it looks like there's some additional things we could do here. I'm not sure, view tags. Is that something we need to be aware
of? This is not something that we need to be really aware of right now if you're just starting out with Facebook ads.
All right, so Newsfeed link description. Now this is something that's only going to show in the desktop, correct? It won't show on mobile because there's not enough space. So if we actually click back over to desktop Newsfeed, you'll see this is a little description here that they took from our page. So that's the Newsfeed link description. And you can basically reiterate information you have in the top there. So you would say something like click to take the quiz. And again, they'll only see that in desktop. They're not going to see it on mobile. So make sure that it matches. And you don't have to have that if you don't want to.
Yeah, and this is where you can also just be creative as well. Maybe someone read the headline and is still not convinced, and the link description is just another way to improve or enhance your point for someone to click or entice them to click. Mm-hmm. So make sure you use the valuable real estate and try to just build on top of your headline and your original ad text.
Mm-hmm. Something that I've done before too is creating a little arrow so that way people's eyes automatically go to the learn more button. Yeah. So definitely test that. It's another thing you can be testing in your ads. Next, display link. Now, this is something, Donberg, that I've tested before, and I thought I could just write something really cool there, and Facebook doesn't like that because they want people to know where they are going. So while you can change that a little bit, it still has to be the URL that the quiz is housed on ultimately. URL parameters, is that something that we need to be aware of right now?
No, it's not something we need to worry about for right now.
Right, same thing with branded content. It's not something we need to be worrying about right now. Now it's going to tell us that our pixel is going to be tracking for the pixel that we have on our account. Right, so next we're going to head over to place order once we're all done. And Facebook's going to automatically create that ad. And they're automatically going to have it set to turn on once it is approved. So what I always do after it has been uploaded is I'll actually make sure that the ad is turned off so it doesn't start until I'm ready for it to start. So if you hit continue here, it'll take you over to your ads manager. And what I will do is I'll actually go over to the campaign here and I'll just switch that off. That way it doesn't start running accidentally and I'm not aware of it, or if it doesn't get approved, I don't want it to be running, obviously. And to see if your ad is approved, just click on over to ads and it'll tell you if it's pending review or if it's approved. A lot of times you also get an email from Facebook that'll let you know when your ad is approved and when it's ready to start running. Anything else you'd like to add about creating an ad account or creating a campaign, Donberry?
Yeah, just when you're creating a campaign, just make sure that you don't just have one campaign that you create. That you have multiple campaigns that you're constantly testing, because the first one might just straight up bomb. So you just want to you just want to have some other campaigns that you're running besides existing campaigns that you're testing to see what's going to perform best for you.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for walking us through that, Donberry. Guys, check out the next module, Module 4. We're going to be talking about actually looking at your campaign, knowing what the numbers mean, and eventually scaling it.